Welcome to Cambridge House Live. I'm Vanessa Collette here at the 11th Annual Silver Summit in Spokane, Washington. Joining me today is Keith Neumeyer, President and CEO of First Majestic Silver. Welcome, Keith. Great to have you back with us.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Keith, first off, congratulations on winning the Silver Baron Award. How was the banquet last night?
It was good. It was obviously smaller than that last year. You can really see the markets, really negatively impacting the industry. It's very unfortunate. The crowds this year were probably half of what they were, but receiving the award was always, obviously it's great to be recognized, but it's really the team behind, myself, the face of the business that really deserves the recognition as well.
Absolutely, and you pointed that out in your speech last night. It's all about your team. What would you say you're most proud of in your career to date?
The amount of jobs I've created. That's really where I get the high from. When I drive through the small towns in Mexico, these were ghost towns before we arrived, and now they're bustling little communities. And prior to First Majestic, I was active in Africa, and very similar, types of situations where you see extreme poverty being pulled out of poverty and wealthified, as a result of a mine all of a sudden starting up. And the great thing about mining is that these are long-term jobs. These are not 5 or 10 year jobs. These are 20, 30, 40, 50 year jobs. And they change, lives of thousands of people, and it's very exciting to see.
Well, that's great. It's also a milestone for First Majestic. You now have been in production for 10 years, and you're just cresting about 11 million ounces of silver production. Have things gone the way that you expected 10 years ago?
Well, we always set ourselves out to become a 10 million ounce producer right from the beginning when we started on this path. I probably didn't think it was going to take us quite as long as it did. I don't know if I ever actually looked at how many ounces we produced in our 10th year, but the objective was obviously to get to 10 million ounces, and we have achieved that, or we will have achieved that this year, and it's a major milestone for us. And interestingly enough, we'll become the second largest silver producer in Mexico after Fresnillo within the next couple of years.
Yeah, that's incredible. What have been some of your biggest surprises in the last decade?
The silver price, probably.
Really?
The volatility. I come from the banking system, and I worked for 3 of the largest national banks in Canada in the 80s. We didn't have the volatility back then in the markets. And today, with all the financial instruments and all the
derivatives.
Derivatives and all those, it creates this volatility. You have these fund managers doing all the same things, and it creates these huge variations or gyrations in whether it's silver or gold or even stocks. And it's pretty hard to manage from a CEO's position, because we do budgeting. We're trying to budget for 2013 or to now 2014, and it's tough. What price do you use for silver in your 2014 budgets?
Right.
It's a bit of a guessing game, so it does create a challenge.
You try to be conservative in a lot of your estimates, I guess.
We do, but coming into 2013, the number we used in our 2013 budget we thought was conservative.
Right.
So it ended up not being, obviously.
So Del Toro is going to be completed in the second or third quarter of 2014, and you mentioned 2014 would basically be a cash accumulation period.
Right.
You still feel that 2015 and 2016 is maybe when you're going to ramp up exploration again?
It'll really depend on what's going to happen. There's 2 things going on. One is the new tax regime in Mexico.
Right.
That could negatively impact exploration in Mexico, so that's yet to be determined. The other thing is silver price. We have sustained low silver prices the way we are now. It just doesn't make sense to drill a hole in the ground, because we need to, as you say, accumulate cash. We've got 2 other projects that we want to bring online over the next 2 or 3 years. We've got 5 mines now. We want to get to 7 mines, by the 2017 timeframe. in order to achieve that, we need to accumulate cash. I don't want to go back to the market and raise money. So we really have our eye on our costs, we really have our eye on our capital expenditures.
It must be hard for you at this time, seeing all the deals out there, not to just go on a spending spree at the same time.
It is, but I don't think the market would tolerate too much. The institutions of Bay Street and Wall Street, they're kind of funny animals. They push all the mining executives to do M&A activity,
right.
And they did for the last 5 years, and then all of a sudden in the last 2 years, the M&A activities started to occur because it takes a while to get something going, and it didn't just happen overnight. So then all of a sudden, Bay Street and Wall Street decide to crucify, the mining companies for actually doing M&A activity.
Right.
So now you've got all the mining executives scared that, why do anything? So everything's just locked up, and I don't think that's going to change. And I'm referring to the bigger companies, the medium to majors. The smaller guys, the ones that are at the show primarily, they're in a really difficult position. They can't raise money. They're got very little left in the bank. They're I wouldn't say maybe on their deathbed, but it feels like it. And some of them are probably shaking their heads and really wondering what to do. And we're looking at a few. To be quite honest with you, we just did a transaction the other day that was news released by a small junior company that we bought a property from. We've done a couple of transactions like that this year. So we're looking at just doing small transactions. We're not looking at really buying out another company right now. I just don't think the market would really be too pleased to see something like that.
Absolutely. Well, Keith, you've set some really big goals for the last decade. What can we expect from you the next decade?
Well, 20 million ounces. That's the next target. And the interesting thing is we don't need to make an acquisition. The current asset base with the 5 mines plus the other 2, with 7 mines operating, 20 million ounces is not that big of it should be achieved, I think, reasonably within the next 3 to 4 years.
Absolutely. Great. Well, it was a pleasure having you back with us again, Keith, and we look forward to watching with interest.
Great. Thanks, Vanessa. Appreciate it.
Thank you.